Hello there. My name is Bernita Miller, and I'm a university student at the University of the West Indies Open Campus for the course Practicum 4 in the Early Childhood Education and Family Studies program. My team and I, Bevelon Brave Boy, Carol Charles, Amanda Nichols, and Kristen Jeffers, are here to demonstrate a fun way for educators to understand and explore the value and importance of developmentally appropriate observation techniques through a game we created called War on Observation. By creating the flashcard game called War on Observation, educators can review and study the 5 main observation techniques, mainly anecdotal records, running records, time sampling, event sampling, and video observation anywhere, anytime, by themselves, or in a group with colleagues. Thus, this presentation aims to demonstrate and explain the 3 sections of the game, which are name that technique, what would you do, and reflective cards. Stay tuned and enjoy.
Today we will be playing a game called Name That Technique, where I will describe a technique, an observational technique, and you will tell me what it is. First one. This type of observation is written in the form of a short story. It details only the series of events that are important to the observer. What is the name of that technique? Anecdotal records. This type of observation is a continuous detailed description. The observation is done over a period of time, and records are documented at various times during the observation. The observer records everything possible throughout the period of time. What is that technique? Running records. This type of observation is done over a long period of time. They are short and focus on precise factual data of development. This type of observation is often used when observing issues relating to children's behaviors and concerns involving child development. What is the name of that technique? Time sampling. This type of observation is used to sample behavior in research. It involves recording and noting the amount of times a certain behavior occurs. The frequency of the behaviors is recorded or tallied every time the particular behavior is observed. What is the name of that technique? Event sampling. The last technique. This type of observation is captured in a digital form. It allows the observer to play back, rewatch the events of the observation in real time. What is the name of that technique? Video observation.
Let's continue with this game. This time, it is the what you would do game. Here, I would give you a brief scenario. You would be given 3 choices from which you are required to choose one technique that you can use. Then, we are going to say why we have chosen this technique. Scenario 1. Ariel is a 5-year-old kindergarten student. She arrives at school very early. She greets her peers, she smiles, she goes to her chair, and she puts her bag down. After, she takes the cloth, the bucket of disinfected water, and she cleans the table thoroughly. Then, she signs in her name, and she signs up for the entire day in her exercise book. At the sound of the bell, she ensures that everyone goes outside, they line up orderly, and they remain quiet until it's time for devotions. At the end of the devotion, the teacher recognizes her excellent efforts in following the classroom daily routines. Here are our three choices: anecdotal records, running records, event sampling. Which one is the best technique that would describe this scenario, the recording of this scenario? Well, if you have chosen anecdotal records, you are correct. Why are you correct? You are correct because this is written like a story. Then the what, when, and how descriptions, they are factual. It records and helps us understand Ariel's personality patterns and responses. This can aid in her holistic development, and we're able to diagnose her strengths and her weaknesses. Let's go to card number 2. This time, it is about Jane. Jane is a grade 1 student of the higher level primary school. She is given a passage at her level to read on the 2nd of March 2020 at 10 a.m. Jane reads aloud. The teacher records each word. Example, punctuation. She used appropriate recording techniques and codes. The teacher notes how well Jane reads. What technique can she use? Is it running records, photographs, or event sampling? If you have chosen running records, then you are correct. She can use running records here because this was an individual assessment. It is based on the curriculum and it records how well Jane reads. This record then can be analyzed to limit Jane's mistakes in the future. Let's go to the next card. This time, at 8:15, Paul arrives at school. He does not say good morning and he goes straight to his chair. He drops his bag and he goes outside. At 8:20, Paul is seen on the bench outside of the classroom, sitting all by himself. At 8:25, the school bell rings and he rushes to the line. He pushes all the children in his way and he goes to the front of the line. 8:26, the teacher speaks to him about his behavior and sends him back to the line. At 8:30, he stands in the assembly and he pushes everyone who touches or rushes him. Paul is sent outside of the assembly room to stand all by himself. Is this anecdotal records, time sampling, or photographs? It's time sampling. Why is it time sampling that you can use to record this child? Simply because it's a record of the child's specific behavior at the actual times. The records of where the child was, what the child was doing, the time and the activities that occurred. Now this can help to assist in recognizing and creating necessary solutions to his behavioral problems. It was very detailed and written in the present tense. Here is another one. Today, Mary is being observed of her disruptive behavior. Miss Palmer, her grade teacher, she ticks or she tallies each time she is disruptive. What technique can you use here? Is it anecdotal, event sampling, or running records? If you said event sampling, then you are correct. Why are you correct? You are correct because it records the number of times the behavior of the events occurred. And finally, the grade 1 teacher, Mr. Jack, has difficulties in recording events or what the students say while observing Ken. Mr. Jack decides to use a camcorder to take videos. He records the date and he takes note of each video. When he is through, he calls Ken and he shows him the video. Ken observes and he comments on his observation. Mr. Jack records what Ken had to say about the video's observation. Can you say it's videos, recording, running records, or time sampling you can use with this scenario? Well, if you have chosen videos, you are correct. You are correct because a video can show the actual behavior than reported behaviors. It allows Mr. Jack to go back and review the events and provide feedback to Ken, as well as Ken can share his own feelings on the video.
Thank you, my colleague. I will now present on the reflective task, where at the end of each sentence, you choose either true or false. Event sampling. Event sampling helps inform teachers of possible behavior in children, true or false. Event sampling really helps to show the frequency of times any skill or behavior has transpired, true or false. Event sampling helps to provide feedback and referral to professional help such as social worker, true or false. Time sampling. Time sampling can be used to observe a child in action, true or false. Teachers record the behavior of what the child is doing during the specific time, true or false. Some behaviors or occurrences may be missed during time sampling, true or false. Anecdotal records. Only what the child does at a particular time during the day is recorded, true or false. The teacher carefully writes what the child is doing or documents the progress or development of the child, true or false. Anecdotal records observes and looks at what the child does to learn more about the child, true or false. Running records. Running records, the observer documents how the child reads, true or false. Running records how children progress frequently, true or false. Running records assesses children's reading developmental level, true or false. Video recording. Video recording shows what children are engaged in during the day, true or false. Video recording shows how children are developing, true or false. And finally, video recording records the whole aspect of the child, true or false. I thank you for listening. Now I turn it back to my colleague. Thank you very much.
In conclusion, war on observation is not a means to an end, but rather a creative and fun way to introduce, familiarize, and review the 5 main observation techniques, namely anecdotal records, running records, time sampling, event sampling, and video observation. Through continuous practice, early childhood educators will become more effective in recording how each child behaves, learns, reacts to new situations, and socialize with others, and then use those data to analyze and reflect. By doing so, educators can understand the strengths and weaknesses of each individual child, as well as decipher the child's level of learning and development. Also, how to improve their teaching strategy and classrooms to meet those needs. However, it is important to use proper tracking and documentation in an effort to accurately track a child's progress.